Hey gamers, what's going on? My name is Mimi and welcome back to Marvel Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. In this episode we are going to be talking about The Last Stand Spider-Man. Now before I actually get into this, I do have a few things to say. Obviously I am back. Obviously I am back now. I do have a new mic. Hopefully it sounds better. You can hear me a little bit more. Hopefully it doesn't sound so muffled. From what I've heard from my friends that I've played with on my PlayStation, I asked how it sounds and they said that it sounded pretty good. Okay. So, I figured that it would be time to finally start uploading again and recording, just to see how it sounds, and depending on how it sounds, I might go back to what it was before. Now this actually helps me out with other things as well, since they're decently big headphones and they have a mic, I can record with them, and I have surround sound hearing. So that way, like, if something happens to the left of me, I'll be able to know, like, it's to the left and not, like, to the right or just, like, anywhere at all.
I bet you'll be as good at breaking out as you were at breaking in.
So, with that out of the way, I guess we'll go ahead and start talking about the lore of Marvel's Last Stand Spider-Man. So this was supposed to be a future for our known and beloved Spider-Man, which I'm going to refer to as 616 Spider-Man for the rest of this video, and actually any other video that I have to, refer to him as 616. So this was actually supposed to be a certain future, depending on how Spider-Man lived the rest of his life.
Got an algorithm in the suit that can extrapolate where the kidnappers. I'll set my earpiece to focus on.
Oh my gosh, I get it. Bad, he's being kidnapped.
Easy, I've got you.
All right.
Oh God, thank you. I do not like small spaces. They're back. Don't let them hurt me.
Sure.
That guy earned the beating, Spider-Man. You want one too?
Alright, so this Spider-Man first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 58. Like I said, he was a future for the regular 616 Spider-Man, depending on how he actually went down his, path of, superhero-ness and stuff. So depending on what Spider-Man did in his life, basically decided on whether his destiny was to be this certain Spider-Man. Now, this Spider-Man is quite different from our, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that we're all known and used to. This Spider-Man, he actually dies. He actually dies quite drastically. It's quite crazy how this Spider-Man dies. And we'll get into that later in this video. But it's pretty crazy. He actually does end up being shot up quite suddenly too. It was quite a shock, I would say, to some readers that read this comic book. It was, like I said, it was crazy because, Spider-Man's never been killed like that before. And he dies later in the future of his storyline, or his story arc, I should say. So, yeah, that's something that was very drastic. Now, one thing to note about this is he wore this costume like right before he died. He wore this, it was sort of newer right before he died. He always had his regular, Spider-Man costume, and, it was always the same. He never really changed it, and this is actually quite a new costume when he dies. I don't know how long comic book wise or like day wise he had the suit before he dies in the comics. But he had it. It was somewhat new. It wasn't very used before he got shot up.
I gotta stop that car.
So yeah, new costume, dies in it, wears it for probably 4 issues of the comic before it gets destroyed and he gets murdered. Or technically he doesn't get murdered. Like I said, we'll get into it later. But in this universe, Spider-Man was a former Avenger, and he was Spider-Man for quite a long time. Now this Spider-Man, our normal Spider-Man was never a full-on Avenger. He only appeared to be an Avenger for a short amount of time in the comics if something called for his needs in the Avengers Tower. So, like I said, he was an actual Avenger, and people started to notice later on when everything that happened. People actually started going to him and asking what was wrong, why he was doing what he was doing. But like I said, we'll get into that just a little bit more later in this video. But yeah, he was a former Avenger and was Spider-Man for many years. Probably the longest living comic we've had of Spider-Man adaptation yet that I know of. And I know quite a lot about them. I know quite a lot about a lot of Spider-Mans actually. So this is probably the oldest Spider-Man that we have in a comic book, at all. So something to, keep in mind. He's pretty old. So yeah, he actually had a son. His name was Ben Parker. Obviously he was named after Uncle Ben.
We just got a reported assault in progress. Officers needed in the area of Columbia.
You wanna fight? It's your lucky day.
So yeah, he had a son named Ben Parker. He had the son with Mary Jane. I don't know how old his son was when he died, but he did have a son. He did help raise him for a while up until, his death. But actually, we'll get more into how his relationship ended with Mary Jane later. Actually, no, we're actually going to get into it now. I might as well say it while it's here. Mary Jane actually leaves him. They were together for a while. They're high school, college lovers. They're together for quite a long time, and like I said, they have a son together, so obviously, something was up when she left him, because that's never actually happened like that in the Mary Jane and Spider-Man relationship before. I don't know if they were married. I think they were married, but they did have a son, Ben Parker, so, it was quite, different. Peter didn't like it, but I'm pretty sure he said that he understands why she left him, because of what happened and what he was doing while being, Spider-Man. Like I said, it was quite different than what you are normally used to. What he does is, definitely not, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man like. Because it's very different. Anyway, yeah, so she leaves him and takes Benjamin with her. He went downhill after Kraven killed all of his friends. Kraven the Hunter, he's a known Spider-Man villain. He's been one of Spider-Man's greatest nemesis ever. I wouldn't say his greatest nemesis is Kraven, but he's up there. So, Spider-Man kind of went crazy after the whole Kraven killing all of his friends. It was just over time. It wasn't, intentional. It just, eventually happened. Like I said, it just kind of eventually happens that he, kills all of his friends. So yeah, he kind of went crazy. He didn't really like that. So one thing that started his whole spiral to being insane, like he was when he died, was after he went crazy and started going like mad over Kraven killing all of Spider-Man's friends, Spider-Man actually like tracks Kraven down and kills Kraven, which is something definitely not Spider-Man like. Now I think MJ actually leaves him because of more of what he does. Kraven's not the only one that he eventually kills. He kills Kraven because of what Kraven did to all of his friends. So yeah, Spider-Man kinda got crazy and just went off killing all types of people. He got crazy and started killing all of his enemies after this. When he started killing all of the people, like, instead of just, you know, killing Kraven and letting it be that, he didn't stop. He continued. He just was tired of it. He kind of, like, I wouldn't say matured up, but he kind of just got sick of having to, you know, keep fighting these guys and arresting them over and over and over and over again. So he just started offing them one by one. Every time he ran into him, he just killed them. You know, so that's definitely not Spider-Man like. Everybody started to notice, and you know, the cops don't really take too kind to vigilantes killing people, especially one that used to be, you know, on their side for a long time. You know, Spider-Man, he was Spider-Man for quite a while before he actually dies. He dies pretty drastically, especially who kills him. So yeah, he starts offing all of his nemesises, and it's just something that everybody starts to notice, considering, you know, Spider-Man's never really killed like that before. Spider-Man's never actually killed before in this comic, maybe once.
Car crash looks bad. Hope no one's injured.
Spider-Man doesn't like killing, that's, you know, obviously Spider-Man, that's his rule. Spider-Man, he's not, you know, the person that likes killing. He's the reason he, you know, doesn't like killing is because of Uncle Ben. So, yeah, he starts going to killing a bunch of people. And actually everybody started to get mad at Peter. Just knowing, the Avengers came to him and said something to him about it, like, you know, because it was different. You know, Spider-Man's never killed anybody before, and the Avengers actually said something to him about this. These was like, hey, yo, you know, what's going on? Why are you doing this? It's, you know, it's not like you. What's the situation? But, you know, he just didn't really answer. He just gave him a short little answer and pretty much told him that this was him now. MJ said something to him before too. MJ said something to him about killing, after he started killing a bunch of his enemies is when she left him. You know, because it probably wasn't the smartest idea for him to go and kill off a bunch of people, considering, you know, he's Spider-Man and everyone thought he was a good guy, and good guys don't kill. Everybody got mad. So yeah, that's a little bit of backstory. Everybody got mad at Peter Parker, and obviously so. They give a pretty good reason to being mad. I mean, Spider-Man doesn't really kill.
Support your local businesses by not robbing them, please. Sorry about that.
So yeah, that's happened. Sorry, it's a little hard to focus and play this game and talk about lore at the same time. Where'd they go? So forgive me if I start or stop talking during fights. I'm trying to go around and free roam, you know, and give you guys something to watch while I talk about this, wearing that certain suit. But you know, it's just a little hard. Anyway, he kills Doc Ock in a pretty, dang. Now, like I said, he killed all of his enemies. Oh, sorry, something stuck in my throat. But he starts going and killing off all of his enemies and doing that made him, like I said, he went crazy. And probably one of the worst ones that he ever killed was Doc Ock, and it was pretty gruesome in the comics. It was very, very, very brutal. It's very graphical in the comic book page, because I actually googled it, because I never seen this specific comic book online or YouTube wise. And yeah, no, he definitely did it pretty darkly. He put one of Doc Ock's tentacle through his chest and pulled his heart out with the tentacle. And doing that, you know, obviously he stopped him from being alive and killed him. And it was pretty gruesome. It was very bloody. The person that designed this comic book's, you know, certain like page and graphic square or whatever, did a really good job at horrifying people, because it was very detailed. It was very, you know, very detailed in all of the blood and organs and stuff on the end of Doc Ock's tentacle when it came out the other side of his chest. So yeah, he ends up killing Doc Ock. It was pretty harsh and painful. I'd hate to be Doc Ock in that situation, but yeah, he kills Doc Ock. And then after he kills Doc Ock, this forces the police department to make him the #1 vigilante. And, you know, being the #1 vigilante, or the #1 person that the cops are trying to, you know, attack and take in and stuff, you know, it's obviously going to, you know, it's obviously gonna have a problem. The cops are officially looking for Spider-Man now. They're not taking what he's doing, you know, lightly anymore. They're tired of him killing people, and it's just time to put an end to Spider-Man. They need to take him in for questioning and figure out why he's doing this. And, you know, Spider-Man's not going to, because secret identity, and he obviously doesn't want to get taken to jail. So Spider-Man, he pretty much just goes on the run. And it was quite crazy that Spider-Man starts going on the run and like doesn't even care that the cops are after him, because he goes out in public as Spider-Man still, even after being the #1 fugitive. Like, cops are shooting at him on sight, and he's still sitting there going out and, you know, attacking people and killing people, even after the fact that he's the #1 vigilante. It's quite crazy. Like, Spider-Man's never been a vigilante. I mean, he's obviously a vigilante, but he's never been, sorry, I just hit my microphone, but he's never been, like, you know, the most wanted out of all of them. So it was quite crazy. So another thing is, let's see, he was gone crazy for a few years. Then when you see Aunt May's grave, he was shot up, and a New York Police Department is the people who actually killed Spider-Man. He was at Aunt May's grave, wearing this specific costume, and when he was there, you know, the found out that he was there, and Spider-Man, he didn't actually give himself up. He actually fought the police department. He fought New York police, and, you know, they obviously didn't like him, you know, fighting back. So they shot him up, and they murdered him in cold blood right then and there in front of Aunt May's grave. And it was pretty gruesome. You got to see all the bullet holes in the comic book page. Oof, I got hit. You got to see all the bullet holes going through Spider-Man's body as they were shooting him up. It was really cool. You know, something that they've never done before, done pretty well. I did like how they did that. It was really cool. And the reason why this suit is really just a whole, pretty much a jacket and a mask and gloves is because Spider-Man wanted a quick change suit. Instead of having to put on the full, you know, costume, skin and tight leggings and all that stuff, or skin tight spandex, he really just put this, you know, leather jacket together, put on one of his old original masks, and wore his web shooters and gloves. So that way, if he needed to go out as Spider-Man really quick and get the job done, you know, he could go do it, put it on really quick, stop whatever he needed to stop, and be able to change without being seen, you know, quite fast or whatever. So it was really a quick change suit that Peter came up with for this specific variation of Spider-Man. And one of the last facts that I have for you guys is that this Spider-Man actually appears, he actually appears again in Astonishing Spider-Man Volume 1, number 129. No, I never actually read up on this. I just know that he appeared again in the Astonishing Spider-Man. It was pretty, I wouldn't say weird, because it was, you know, it happens a lot with Spider-Man comics nowadays. But yeah, he appears again with this costume, and appears again as a much older Peter Parker. And it's quite weird, I would say, I guess. I mean, like I said, it happens a lot in Spider-Man comics, but never to where once you see like this certain Spider-Man be shot up completely to where, you know, he's not, obviously he's not alive anymore, and they show that in the comics. They never usually bring them back, and they brought this one back. Now in the Spider-Verse comic books, I know that he came back, but it wasn't a older Peter Parker. The biggest surprise in the Spider-Verse comic book series was that the Spider-Man that wore the Last Stand costume ends up being, ready, drumroll please, it actually ended up being Ben Parker. It was Uncle Ben. He lost his aunt, you know, he lost Aunt May and Peter to crime, as like Peter lost Ben to crime. So that, and he still took Peter to the science lab and everything, but instead of Peter getting bit, Uncle Ben got bit by the spider. And once he lost them to, you know, what happened, he got quite mad, and took to fighting crime for his own. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I have one more little itty bitty fact. The Spider-Man 616, which is the Spider-Man that we all know and talk about and, you know, love and everything, he actually got to see Spider-Man get shot up at Aunt May's grave later in the future because of Madam Web. Now Madam Web is pretty much like this big time traveler person that's in Spider-Man's lore. She brought him to the future to see what would happen if he didn't go down the right path. And this is the future for Peter Parker. That was the future for Peter Parker. And
possible narcotic cell reported. Nearest officer, please proceed to Hamilton Heights.
I really wish I was waiting to turn that off. But like, it really was what Peter was going to do if he didn't go down the right path. And for the longest time, Spider-Man did do the right thing, but eventually he just went, you know, kind of crazy. And that's really what drove him insane like he is. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and leave this video here. I figured it was more fitting to end it at May Parker's and Ben Parker's grave. Kind of funny. It'd be funny if the cops showed up and started shooting me. Not really though, because that means I'd die. Anyway, but that is actually it for this lore. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna be doing, definitely gonna be doing way more of these. I'm probably going to do some for all. I'm going to do some for all of the suits in the game. I've done some of them already and uploaded them, so I still got a lot more of them to go. And I'm really looking forward to recording and uploading these. You know, I do enjoy. I'm probably gonna do these two together because they're literally the same thing. Just one has ribs. So, just be looking forward to all of those. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this episode, please do leave a like, comment, and hit the subscribe button because it does help me out a lot. And remember, my name is Minuin. I'm the best at what I do, and that's giving you that 1-2 punch.